is April the 30th, 2017. Welcome to Wrestleview Live number 12. Time to talk a little WWE Payback. It's a Raw pay-per-view with SmackDown superstars. I am Adam Martin of Wrestleview.com. Welcome in if you're watching us on YouTube, either live, on a delay, if you're listening to us on SoundCloud, on iTunes, if you like only to listen to us and not look at us, because I don't blame you. Wrestleview Media on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, that includes the backlog of all the Trey and Adam shows, some bonus Wrestling News Live shows from back in the day, old VIP content. We're going to continue to evolve that thing. So thank you for tuning in however you would like to do so, because I know people like the video, some people like the audio, so we like to please everybody on the YouTubes. We're here to talk about WWE Payback for about an hour, and I am going to be joined here momentarily. Let me kill the Epoch music. Sorry, that's a little loud. Let's bring in Doug Lackey of Wrestleview.com. I need a new tagline for you, Doug, when I bring you into the shows, because I looked back and you hadn't tweeted for like a couple weeks, and then you tweeted a little bit tonight, but I think I talk about this every time we do a show.
Well, it was about 2 weeks ago that I got back on the Twitter horse and resurrected the funny ha-has. And I was incredibly amazed that I actually sat through an entire 3-hour edition of Raw live. Okay. But the problem is, again, it kind of takes a lot out of you after you do something like that. So again, I just had to get back on it, see how I did and everything. But right now, tonight, I feel like we need some payback after payback.
Payback as in what?
Well,
not a fan?
I guess.
Okay, so let me approach this conversation with this unique opportunity. So for years, you've told me I would probably like wrestling more if I did not have to cover the show live, because I've had these obligations with Wrestleview for, oh my God, since 2001. So do the math.
Yeah.
I probably didn't start covering pay-per-views on a regular basis till about 2002, 2003. But pretty much since that point on, I've been covering. If there's a pay-per-view, I generally was watching it, whether it was TNA, WWE, occasional Ring of Honor shows. But that underlying tone would be, we would come on, we would do a show, but you would say, man, I wonder what you would think, though, if you didn't have to sit there on a computer for 3 hours and watch the show and recap it, and then come on here and do a podcast or a review or whatever. So did not do that tonight. Mike Tedesco has graciously offered to step in when it's a Raw pay-per-view, even though there were SmackDown people on the show because of the Superstar shakeup, which we also have to talk about because we kind of bungled that one a little bit. So he offered to step in and cover these shows for me. So I got to just basically sit on the couch for 3 hours, munch on some food, and enjoy the show. And I have to tell you, it's much more enjoyable to do that. Surprisingly, big shock, big spoiler. I got to sit there. If I had like a thought, I would tweet it out. I try not to say too much because I know we were going to come on here and do a podcast afterwards, but it's, and I know you just said to start the show, you're like, I'm not really sure. And I am there with people on that. The television show is kind of a struggle. Not kind of, it is a struggle to watch every week. I will blatantly tell you, I do not watch Raw live unless I have to cover the show and have to step in for some reason for Mike. I catch strictly recaps on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube clips. That's about it. I am not sitting there. I record the show, but it's rare I go back and even watch the DVR. So I'm just filling up my PlayStation DVR with shows I don't even really watch. I've been more into SmackDown than Raw, more so because it's an easier show to watch. It's a 2-hour show, but if I don't cover that show, again, I'm watching clips. So I'm organically going through my viewing habits of WWE of clips and obviously always watching pay-per-views, which I find it to be a little bit easier to do that. But tonight was interesting, Doug. It was refreshing for me because I haven't just had like a break to do this for a long time. So I guess maybe that could cloud my judgment potentially tonight. I don't know, because possibly, right? Maybe. Is it?
Well, no, that I don't want to say it would cloud your judgment, but it definitely alters your viewing habits of it. And when it alters the viewing habit of it and all of the, sideboard responsibilities that you would have, it definitely makes it for you might be able to enjoy the product a little more. I'm talking about you and your, rituals when it comes to watching professional wrestling. Me, like, it's been the same. The only thing that's changed with me is I DVR the shows. I've always watched them live, but now, like, for the past year and a half, I've been DVRing them. I watch them the next day, but I am just flying through the commercials, because that's my thing. Is that's what does me in, are the commercials. I can't sit there for 3 hours to watch a show when a good hour of it is commercials.
Sure.
I can burn through a 3-hour episode of Raw in less than an hour. No problem. SmackDown, it's about the same way. A 2-hour SmackDown, I burn through that in less than an hour. I mean, shoot, there's sometimes I'll wake up, Tuesday morning while I'm having my breakfast before I go to work, and I'll plow through Raw before I go to work, And so, but when it comes to the pay-per-views, it's a completely different beast. And, you don't have the commercial breaks, and it's just an even flow of action going throughout. But the problem is this is, again, one of those pay-per-views that felt like a 3-hour television show. And
I guess,
and that's why, and that's why I kind of feel.
I guess what made it feel different for me was the over-the-top goofiness of the House of Horrors match. Which, by the way, when people kept saying it tonight, it sounded like they were saying House of Horrors, like when they just say it very nonchalantly. I just kept hearing House of Horrors, but the intrigue of this was okay. The second they announced this, it sounded really, really stupid. So I was thinking, like, okay, this is going to be your typical WWE Undertaker Wyatt family over the top, nonsense. And I immediately started. Let's just start there, because that's just in my head, right? Of course. We'll talk Braun and Roman, because that obviously closed the show tonight. But the House of Horrors was just so ridiculous. It reminded me, and I don't know if you watched them very closely, but it reminded me of the Total Nonstop Deletion presentation, where it was very campy. But the way they did it at TNA was very tongue-in-cheek. Like, they knew it was stupid, so they were presenting it with like kind of a wink. Whereas the WWE has been doing some ultra serious, strange stuff with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. It's not been interesting. The match at WrestleMania was pretty much universally panned. I don't even know how much we talked about it on our last podcast, because there was some stuff we forgot to we literally didn't say a word about Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin on our last show. So that kind of tells you where our brains are when we don't spend too much time on something. We've made a genuine effort to try to be a little more positive on these shows instead of coming on here and bitching about everything. But
yeah, that's what we'd say always on the outset. Let's talk about the stuff we liked, because all the other shows are always going to complain and bitch and gripe and moan. But this one is difficult. Okay, this one has to be talked about. I said it on our Facebook page while the match was going on. I think actually when it was the tail end of it, where, again, I don't understand how. I don't want to go over the structure and how it just makes no sense to me, the match itself. But the comments that I made, and the number one thing I said was, WWE should let TNA do TNA. Okay, I don't know what they were thinking. When they first said that, Bray said, I'm going to have a House of Horrors match, in my mind immediately came up, I'm trying to remember who the opponent was, but it reminds me of an Undertaker match from like 91 or 92, something like that, 93, somewhere around those years, where it was a program with an opponent, and the Undertaker, for the 3 weeks going into the pay-per-view, says, we're going to have a rest in peace match. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what is this? We've had a buried alive match. We've had, casket matches, and there's a third signature Undertaker match. Well, what's this one going to be? The go-home episode going into the pay-per-view, the Undertaker explains that the rest in peace match is that I am going to beat you until you rest in peace.
It's like, okay.
There were no stipulations.
Cool.
It was just a match. That's it. There was nothing special about it. And so that's what I was thinking with Bray Wyatt in this House of Horrors. I'm like, okay, so it's just going to be like it sounds like a regular match to me. What are you going to do? And so when it ends up being a 10-minute video spot that's pre-taped, and then tails into, 20 minutes later going through one match as a buffer to tail into the end of the match where it's just Orton slugging Bray with a chair and then Jinder and his friends jumping Orton.
I love that.
I'm just like, God, this is TNA. This is so TNA. What is this?
So, we're getting a lot of feedback about this because I'm glad we I'm glad we led with this because the comments just started exploding on the YouTube channel and on Facebook.
Yeah.
Robert Cochran on Facebook said House of Horrors needed some Rowan, even though I know he's on the other show, or some of the Wyatt weirdos. In the chat room, Goose said that Total Nonstop Deletion was fucking entertaining. This was a damn train wreck. Shifty Gizm said House of Horrors might go down as one of my least favorite segments I've ever seen the WWE attempt. So the feedback is, I'm looking at some other, Conan Kudo said Final Deletion worked because it was self-aware of its campiness and ridiculousness. It didn't take itself seriously and resulted in a fun segment. And that is the one issue with WWE presentation is that they think like they can do this really well, Doug. Like they go like, yeah, because they have great production. They understand production. Yeah. They understand how to do documentaries and how to shoot stuff really well. They have a very good, crew for that stuff. But they, for some reason, when it gets into this like weird campy realm, they go real hard, and it doesn't like. I just the image of Randy Orton pulling up in a limo with his shirt off. I was just like, what is it? What are we watching? Like, what is happening? Yeah. And then like they just start fighting in this house, and there's a comedian. I'm gonna look up his name so I don't screw this up because he's a rather well known comedian who's a big wrestling fan. His name is Ronald Funches. I'm pronouncing.
Funches. Yeah.
He said it looked like, instead of House of Horrors, he said it looked more like Bray Wyatt's frat House of Horrors because it wasn't a very. Are they ribbing us with this? Like, is this I feel like I shouldn't sit here and be taking this seriously because I was smiling and laughing the whole time because it was so stupid. So I don't feel like I should be sitting here like breaking this, because I saw a lot of very serious replies on Twitter to me on the Wrestleview Twitter. People were like very like borderline angry that they were doing this. And I was like, well, what did you think this was going to be? Like, were you expecting this to be this groundbreaking? I don't know.
I mean, were you expecting a set to be like, the set of the kids game show Finders Keepers, where it's just a big old playhouse with open rooms for you to see all the rest, the performers bash themselves in? No, that's not what you're going to get. My thing was when it was announced, and let's go and face it too, I think it was spoiled what this thing was going to be. Earlier today was what this House of Horrors match was going to be, this 10-minute long video segment. And that's all I needed to hear was 10-minute long video segment. Okay. Cause suddenly in my mind, the practical, logical questions start coming in that any stand-up comedian would ask when it comes to something like this. Like, I didn't know Bray lived in San Jose. Why are they doing this in San Jose? Man, the housing market must suck. What do you tell the limo driver and where to go? And how does Randy know where he's going? Wait a minute, Randy doesn't know where he's going. Well, then what kind of limo driver and limousine service accepts this offer from a Mr. Wyatt going, hey, you're going to have a guy named Randy Orton who's not going to be wearing a shirt that's going to come over and he's going to beat me up. This is the address that you take him to.
This is where you need to go.
None of this made any sense.
No. At
all. From a serious standpoint, okay, if we're talking seriously, it made no sense. From the campiness, I guess, the thing is, I totally get, WWE's production quality is excellent. By God, their lighting is superb. It is so great that you'll still see the shadows of the cameramen in the house. But, God, really? I mean, could we not think of a different stipulation or something along these lines that would still be campy, but be live, be in the arena to get the crowd's reaction? I mean, you don't get any reactions from a 10-minute long video segment until it's over with, and you've got Booker T that doesn't know what the hell to say, but it's not like he never knows what the hell to say.
Well, if you did notice, they did not, first of all, they did not pipe in crowd noise. They did not have
crowd noise.
No commentary. So I think that was smart because had they, I mean, Daniel Cormier, who's the light heavyweight champion of the UFC, he was front row tonight and he tweeted a photo and he's like, look at all these like kids that are just like, they're fixated on the screen right now, like focused on the House of Horrors match. But that was a good move by them because I think they knew that's not going to play well if you're piping in crowd noise and it's crickets. And then you have, well, first of all, Michael Cole afterwards, I could not believe with a straight face without laughing. He's like, well, Randy Orton's pinned by a refrigerator, Doug. I don't think he's going to make it to the arena. It's just like, can you imagine? Like, I know that's his job and he's not the one writing these shows, but can you imagine being a grown adult saying that out loud and then just kind of being like, man, I don't know about this. Like, is this really where I want my career to be going as a broadcaster, is saying the words, Randy Orton is pinned by a refrigerator. I don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to make it to the arena? I don't know. It was just so silly.
Any professional like me would say, you know what? I accept this challenge.
I guess.
I can make this sound serious. Okay. My thing was that, that act happened and Cole goes, Randy Orton's been pinned by a refrigerator. I've worked in an appliance store and sold these pieces of crap. That was a very small refrigerator.
Yeah.
Randy Orton's been pinned by a refrigerator. Oh, he'll get up. That's only a single door. That's nothing. I can push that sucker over. That's no big deal. Now, if this was a 4-door French door stainless steel from GE, now we got something to talk about. There wasn't even an ice maker in that refrigerator. Randy Orton's fine. Okay.
So there's a little bit of a shots fired by New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they said, let's bring it up here. It says, you can join New Japan Pro Wrestling World for $9.99. We guarantee no houses, no horrors, and the best wrestling in the world, or the planet, or whatever you want to use that as the icon. So they were quick to jump on that and say, hey, this, which, again, you can't get mad at an entertainment company trying to do something ridiculous and entertaining. Like, I get it. So, like, I'm not upset about this. Like, I had no intentions of coming on this show tonight and being angry about this and saying, how dare this company do. It was just, like like you said earlier, the second they announced this match, we had no idea what this match was going to be about. There was actually a lot of confusion going into this, Doug, that they thought that the WWE Championship was going to be on the line, and then they just pretty much stripped any wording of the title from the previews, and there was no mention of it on television. And then Bray Wyatt was drafted from SmackDown to Raw, and there was a lot of confusion, like, oh, if Bray wins, is he going to bring the title to Raw now? And there's going to be, there'll be 2 titles on Raw now, and there's a lot of confusion, but it wasn't for anything. And it was really just a way, as we saw, to get things going with Jinder and the Singh brothers, or the Bollywood boys prior. So, which I'm very intrigued to see where this Jinder Mahal thing goes. I mean, I know the internet tried this narrative that he's this like super dangerous guy that gives people concussions, even though the person's, Finn's back in the ring the next week. And literally everybody I asked in that company said nothing about it. And they said, there's no issue, but that didn't stop all the wrestling websites from saying, God damn it, Doug, you gave him a concussion. It's just like so silly, but I'm intrigued by the Jinder stuff. So to me, yes. Okay. This was a goofy, bump in the road, to get to where they're trying to get to, with Backlash in a few weeks with Randy and Jinder, but probably didn't need to do this after the debacle of the WrestleMania match. I'll give people that, but
yeah,
I just knew that this wasn't going to be something that was going to really go anywhere. So I walked into it knowing, okay, this is probably going to really suck. So just sit here and try to find the humor in it. And there was a couple things I laughed at, just because it was so stupid, but I'm not angry about it by any means. And New Japan trying to capitalize. I don't know what that does for New Japan business trying to capitalize. I mean, they're a pro wrestling business trying to compete with, an entertainment industry. So good luck with that. Like, I think New Japan's unique, but why you're doing that, that's just.
Well, if they want to try to grab all the people that are angry that happened on their quote unquote wrestling show, they probably watch New Japan anyway.
Exactly.
So they didn't really add anything to what they were trying to do. I just felt like that I was really watching a script from a role-play wrestling website in 1997 on AOL brought to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Like an EFED.
That's what I was watching.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't get, of course not. I wasn't angry or anything, but I definitely had smirks on my face. And believe me, again, my mind was racing with all of the questions that would come up as I'm watching all of this, just, sitting there going like, I would really love to watch an episode of HGTV. They go, all right, and we're here with Bray Wyatt, who's going to decorate this brand new house that he got in San Jose. What are your ideas, Bray? Oh, I'd really like an easel with some antlers and a doll's head over here. And I got all these extra dolls that I found over at Goodwill. And I got some fishing line. Can we do something with the ceiling in this other room? We saw that you need a refrigerator for your new home, Bray. Yeah, I found this one over here at the Habitat for Humanity store with the Catholic Church.
I could just hear his voice doing this.
I got it for $50, and I also decorated it myself, throwing my own feces and writing on it. I thought that was great.
He's just walking. Yeah,
Ray, that's not where the refrigerator's supposed to face. It's supposed to face into the kitchen. Well, no, sometimes I like to be staring at my sink when I open the refrigerator door. It's shit like this.
Goosey tagged me in a tweet. Joey Ryan, who's famous for the penis flip, if you remember that about a year or so ago. He tweeted, "Nothing I do in pro wrestling is less realistic than it being pitch black outside at 6:30 p.m. in San Jose, California." Another excellent point that many people raised while the match was taking place. But I mean, I'm looking in the chat and people are like, Conan kudos, like there was no humor, and I'm like, I don't think they were trying to be funny. It was unintentionally funny, is maybe what I'm trying to say. So
you're supposed to laugh at yourself for watching this, and laugh at
it's not. It's professional wrestling, first of all. So if you're taking it seriously, then I feel for you a lot. But it was stupid. It was campy. But I tried my best. I knew going in, like I said, this was not going to be good. So this idea that it was going to be awesome, it was just silly that people had this, super high expectation for. I don't know why they did, but oh well. I definitely want to talk about some other stuff on the show, but oh boy, did they go full bore tonight with our boy Braun and
Birdern,
and against the Birdern. And there's been a lull kind of with Roman because of the angle they shot where Braun beat him up, which was also completely ridiculous. That was so ridiculous.
I'm not finished with you. That needs to be a T-shirt right now.
Oh, I love Braun screaming anything at this point. And then there was the problem where Roman was probably going to come back to television. They had that week off to sell the injury. And then, unfortunately, his brother, Rosie, passed away in real life, so they did not have him on television. But they did like an interview, like a sit-down interview thing, where they put it on like the website or whatever it was. So there was that. But, I mean, I don't think that necessarily hurt the build of this. But the story was Roman was beat up from that attack. And I liked tonight how they kind of messed with people of like, because there's that, he's the John Cena of 5 or, maybe even 10 years ago where John would win a lot and everyone would get mad. Like, of course, John Cena's going to win. The fucking company's predictable. And, there would be the Cena Boo Birds, as we described them back in the day. And the Boo Birds were out in full force, especially in San Jose tonight. They were chanting, "Thank you, Strowman," when he eventually pinned Roman tonight. But it was just it was a weird image to see a bleeding, beat up Roman Reigns recovering, and there's this giant crowd of people going, "Thank you, Strowman." And I understand there's a hatred for Roman Reigns, I get it, but there was moments like it was a pretty good match. Like I know that they were kind of messing with people, thinking like, "Oh, is Roman still going to win even though he's injured?" And I had to tell you, it would have been kind of a hard sell for me if Roman would have won, because then what have you been doing with Braun, since WrestleMania? I mean, you gotta. I know that Braun's not going to be the ultimate, Godzilla of the Raw brand, and they need to have a central character like Roman. I totally get that, but it's like you got to give him something here and there, which is what they did tonight. So I was fine with that. But man, is he? I don't know. Would you say he's getting popular because of the hatred for Roman, or is it just organically this character's really taking off at a good time right now?
It's really a combination of the two. We'll first start with the hatred of Roman and the role that Braun has been placed. I mean, it is perfect. It's perfect placement, just to hear. Also, people were cheering as Roman coughed blood against the wall. You would hear chants of "You deserve it."
I saw that.
Yeah. But no, when it comes, there's just something, just to hear that thank you Strowman during that ambulance spot from a few weeks back. And he's on Raw the next day and everyone is chanting thank you Strowman. And just the lines that he gave on that show, say like, I'm proud to say that Roman Reigns won't be here tonight. Everyone just emphatic roar.
That's a very good Braun impression.
Upwards. Oh,
you do a very good Braun impression.
Well, I've been listening to it for a lot now.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been replaying a lot of his stuff that he's been doing on Raw, and so I mean, I can't. I just love that voice.
So
no
dry.
one else has a voice like his.
It's so dry too, like the way he I love how he'll tonight they just had him staring into, and I love how what they do is they'll put the camera on the ground, so he's just looking down and he's just talking into the camera, and it's just so stupid. But I smile every time, and then the theme music, the Braun, and then he comes out and just does the.
And it's simple. I mean, there's no wacky stuff on the big video screen. He has no pyros. He doesn't have anything wacky going on the floor and the ramp that he's doing, like, The Miz or Roman Reigns or anything. It's just when you hear Braun, you big smile on your face. Here comes the monster. And you just go, oh, man, someone's getting fucked up today.
Exactly.
Oh, boy, here we go. I just love his voice, though. Everything, but that leads me into why you're hearing me smile and laugh and everything, is because it's not because of what he's doing to Roman. Okay, that's what those are what the people who are booing and throwing Cheetos at their TV for the House of Horrors match. That's what they're doing. They're cheering Braun because they hate Roman. Braun is just a funny, destructive character, especially tonight where. For the second time, we hear that infamous, I'm not finished with you, and plows through an ambulance door, Plows through an ambulance door into the mountain of cardboard boxes that I was eyeballing when Bray came back in the limo. Mm-hmm. And it parked there. Because I saw that wall of cardboard boxes. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. Yeah.
I don't have a good feeling about those. Either there's some really bad moving company is there, or something's happening to those. But there's just something, him plowing through an ambulance door and just hearing him, and before that, hearing him yell, I'm not finished with you. I let out a hearty gut laugh. Okay. There's nothing to hate about Braun Strowman. If you're fearing that everything that he did in this match and everything that he did tonight was destroyed because he looked goofy plowing through an ambulance door, shut your face. That's what he does. He threw himself into ring posts 5 or 6 times during his own match. Roman did nothing to him during the match, just like at the Fastlane match. It's Braun being a big, dumb, stupid animal plowing into things. And that's what's great about him.
I found myself giggling to myself. I don't know why I forgot it, but the promo when Kurt Angle announces the match with Roman at Payback, and he goes, "What?" And I don't know why that was funny to me, but his stupid, deep voice, it just says, "What?" And he's just, I don't know. He reminds me of the bully in Revenge of the Nerds. Just like, I don't know. It's very entertaining. He's a very entertaining character.
Oh, Ogre, you asshole.
Yes, exactly. Ogre. He reminds me of Ogre. It's just, I don't know, man. It's weird too, because like when he came in, he didn't really do a lot of talking because he didn't really have to because of what he looked like when he was with the Wyatts. But now that we've had the brand split and he's had an opportunity to just have these campy promos and just do his thing, and I don't know, man. It's good. I'm enjoying it. So I thought it was a good way to end the show, and you had Roman coughing up blood on the wall and people chanting "Thank you, Strowman," and "You deserve it," like you said, and. I loved, we didn't really get to talk about it because we haven't done a podcast since WrestleMania, but the night after Mania when Roman walked out, said what, this is my yard now, but he didn't talk for like 2 or 3 minutes because of the reaction and just the boos he got after he delivered that line that this is my yard now, and he drops the mic, and I was like, okay, it's been a very, very hard sell for me with Roman Reigns for the last 3 years now. But for some reason that I'm like, okay, I can go with this. I'm okay with this now. But I hope that continues, even with the Braun stuff. So we'll see how it goes. But I really liked the way they closed the show tonight. I know that there was the campiness of the House of Horrors that we were talking about, but thought this.
But it's over now. It's over now. That program's done.
It's all done. It's all over with now.
No more.
What'd you think of the title change with Jericho? Because he's got a slew of tour dates booked with Fozzy this summer, so likely he'll drop the title on SmackDown on Tuesday, because technically that title was brought over to SmackDown, but now he'll bring it to Raw, I guess. So now Raw has 2 mid-card titles, or how does this work?
No, what's going to happen is the U.S. title is going to SmackDown.
Well, it's been there, but that was because Kevin Owens was drafted, so that doesn't mean the belt was brought to SmackDown. It means Kevin...
No, that's what it was. The belt was brought to SmackDown.
Okay, so he'll have to show up on... But they were saying on TV, will Jericho show up on Raw with title? So I'm confused. I don't know.
I don't know. Will he?
That's the implication that they gave us. I don't know. So we'll have to see what they do. But
they kept saying that. But if Jericho wins the title, then he goes to SmackDown. So.
That is true. Yeah, well, I don't know. Chat room, help us out.
All that I know is that the next pay-per-view is a SmackDown pay-per-view.
It's Backlash. It's the They basically said, Goosey said, if Jericho wins, Jericho goes to SmackDown. Okay, so he'll go to SmackDown. So maybe he'll lose on Tuesday. He
could lose it on Tuesday. He could lose it on SmackDown's pay-per-view. You know, who knows? Someone could just beat the holy hell out of him backstage and it's vacated.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know, anything could happen to accommodate his rock star lifestyle that he thinks that he has.
He's touring festivals and stuff this summer with Fozzy. I have to also briefly address... So... we fucked up a little bit. Actually, I fucked up a little bit. So when they announced the Superstar shakeup after WrestleMania, I thought, okay, this is a fun way to kind of mix up. I was thinking in my head, like maybe 2 or 3 trades tops, maybe 5 at the very most between both shows. I was not expecting like 10 people from SmackDown to go to Raw and 10 people from Raw to go to SmackDown. I was not expecting that. So as it was playing out the second night, I was like, oh shit. Like I thought maybe they were going to make Raw a little top heavy because they have that 3rd hour. So they got more content to produce. So that makes sense. That they still brought over the same amount of people to SmackDown. So we didn't do a podcast because I didn't think that was the draft. And then I also heard that they still might be doing a draft, but it may not be in July like it was last year when they brought it back. I don't know. So I apologize for us kind of ignoring that one a little bit, because that was they made some pretty aggressive moves between the 2 shows. But I just, the way they were talking about it, I was like, okay, it's going to be a couple people and that's it, not 10 and 10, like 20 altogether, wherever it was, or a little more than 20. But there is that confusion that we're having right now of, okay, does Jericho go to SmackDown now, or does he go to Raw, or does he stay on Raw, or so there's a little bit of that stuff. But so sorry everybody, I was just a little aside. I didn't really have much else to add to that. Sorry, Doug. I fucked up.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really think I could have added anything anyway. I mean, so people shifted around. I mean, people were moved. If you're thinking there's going to be another draft, holy heck, man, let's double up on your Ritalin a little bit. No, that was my impression. Why would they do another draft? That doesn't make any sense.
They don't need to now. There's no need to. There's absolutely no need to. A couple of things I wanted to hit too. I was very surprised at how, and I haven't watched a lot of their stuff, I'll be honest, in terms of from start to finish, but the Hardys look really good tonight. The nostalgia act, though, I think is going to wear thin if they don't figure out what they're going to do with the trademarks for the broken Hardy stuff. So I don't know if that's just in progress, if they're never going to go down that path with those guys. But I feel like, not now. Granted, it's been like 4 weeks, not even 4 weeks yet, has it been? So
it's been nearly a full month.
Okay, so like calm down, everybody. Like I've already seen people who are like, oh my god, I'm already bored by the Hard. It's like, well, it's been 4 weeks. Like this is
guys, law. We can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's just the nature of wrestling fans, is to be super, super, super impatient. But I do feel like, though, at some point, like maybe a couple months in, we're gonna have to do something with those dudes if they can't get the rights to the broken stuff, because that stuff was pretty... I don't want it to be exactly like how it was in TNA, though. I mean, granted, this would be a bigger audience to expose it to, but I just feel like if you're going to do it, you can incorporate it, but, come up with something. I mean, if they were creative enough to come up with that approach, I'm sure they could figure out something else to do. But Goosey was pointing out in the chat that he was doing the delete stuff and has been on television. Matt Hardy was rather tonight. Sure. So it could be coming. Matt's been hinting at stuff on Twitter that it's coming. So we'll.
But what I like is we would have this exact same argument. Take away what they have been doing on their own in other organizations on their own doing. Take that aside and only know that the Hardy Boys are back here as, like you said, the nostalgia act. Okay? 2 years ago, the Dudley Boys did the same thing. Mm-hmm. Okay? Did they get stale quick? I mean, I don't know, because they were mainly brought in to, augment against the New Day, who at that time was heel. And then also after WrestleMania, from coming up to WrestleMania, you introduce Enzo and Cass, so you have them going against Enzo and Cass to prop them up. That was the reason that they were there, was to further augment and build up the acts that you already had. Look at the Hardy Boys here in this position. Why did you bring them in? Was it to capitalize on something that they've built themselves? Because if that's the case, the audience that's watching this right now, let's be brutally honest, doesn't know what the hell the reason is that you brought them in, if that's what it is. Okay? Yes, we can hop on YouTube and watch the broken stuff. Yes, we can watch previous stuff online. Okay? But face facts here. You are part of a very, very, very small minority of the WWE viewing audience. They don't know what the heck this delete broken stuff is. Only the 20-somethings people that are chanting it in the crowds and doing it also, they're the only ones that do. Okay? I don't buy that. It's the only way that they can make that popular is if they try to explain it themselves on the TV show, or they do it their own way with the WWE's production value.
Well,
okay.
I guess I'll punch back, because I was with you until Devon Dudley cut a promo in a 20,000 seat arena, brings up the Hardys, and the entire audience starts going, delete. So it's known. Now, granted, I'll give you that they were doing this on a pop TV platform that averages between 285,000 to 350,000 viewers a week. The YouTube was non-existent unless you were focused on those exact segments, and then clips on Twitter and Facebook, and then eventually maybe Pop TV released full versions of stuff. What I don't like, and I'm seeing this in the chat room, like my buddy Brian Farmer, you remember Brian Farmer? Is saying Vince is too vain for it to be exactly like TNA. Well, of course. Like, I don't know why he. This is the strange thing I don't understand about wrestling fans is like this is his world, so he can kind of do what he wants in it. I don't understand why people want him to do stuff that he doesn't have to do. It's really strange.
Yeah.
Like when WCW guys come in and like, oh, he needs to be exactly like no, he doesn't have to be. Like Vince is giving him a platform, kind of like with Sting and other WCW guys.
DDP does not have to have the offshoot Nirvana theme music. Okay, he can be the motivational guy that we really thought he could have been.
Yeah, I mean, like they don't have to be, and that's my hesitation with the Hardy stuff is that it was entertaining in TNA. It revived their careers. There was a dramatic flip between, there was always that take that Jeff was the better of the two. And then all of a sudden there was this flip of like, oh wait, now Matt is the one that's generating the buzz for the team and creating something different and something unique and creating merchandise and chants and all this stuff. So I thought that was interesting, but I don't know if I want it to be a carbon, stamp and copy paste into the WWE universe. Like I feel like you can use elements of it, but not the exact, same thing.
I mean, if you want to talk about a freaking nostalgia act that's not going to have any gas left in the tank, that's that one. Okay. Yeah. The broken stuff. Yay. It was fun when it wasn't on the WWE's platform. I'll tell you right now, if that gets on the WWE platform and it is carbon copy what it is that everyone loves the clamor about, I give it a month and it's dead. Okay. It will not fly. Okay. what it needs. I don't even know if they even need to do it.
They got to do.
They do.
Well, they got to do at some point. They got to do something with them because
there needs to be a shift of some kind.
Yes, I mean, I get. I mean, they got to do something, and to me, you got to take advantage of what Matt had started. Like you can't ignore that. Like that's one of the reasons why they got this job again. Like had they just been on the indie scene doing what they had been doing for a long time, I don't think WWE would have been very interested. And you saw the reaction. I mean, of course they were going to get a big reaction no matter what, but you have to think to a degree. They saw what they were doing with the total nonstop deletion stuff and the broken stuff, and they thought, okay, well maybe there's something we could do, and maybe that is truly the plan. It's just legally we're in the situation where TNA is claiming rights over it, and Matt's saying no, we own the trademarks, and there's just and Brian's right in the chat. He said anything has to evolve. So yes, I totally agree. Like you can use it, take elements of it, but don't make it exactly the same because there's
absolutely nothing wrong with what I actually see happening, and I'm pretty damn well sure this happened with talks before they were even brought back at WrestleMania. Okay, was Matt? They sit down with Matt and Jeff, and they specifically are looking at Matt, and they go, Matt, what you did by yourself creatively is fantastic. I mean, that's why we're bringing you here. You are a great creative mind. What harbors even more creativity is when you have limitations placed on yourself. What can you do to help you two in our little world that we have constructed here that has all of these other tag teams in it? What can you do? Okay, what can you come up with? Okay, and kind of use what you've done in the past with Brother Nero and Broken and the deletion and everything. The problem is we can't use those words. We can't use those terms. Is there something different that you can come up with that, may not necessarily be the same thing, but again, we want to bring you guys back, but we don't want you being the original Hardy Boys for long. That's not why we brought you here. We brought you here because you are very, very imaginative, Matt, now that you're sober. Okay, what can you come up with? Jeff, do the wacky stuff that you want and everything. Here's a motocross bike. You go have fun. We're talking to Matt here. Okay, that's what this all seems like to me. But also, again, it doesn't need to be, like we said, a carbon copy of the deletion stuff. It doesn't need to be that. No. Okay.
I did see a photo just now on WWE's Twitter page. Jeff Hardy lost a tooth tonight in the match with Sheamus and Cesaro.
Yes.
I saw a lot of hatred.
Yes, he did.
A lot of people going at Sheamus on my Twitter feed tonight and how he's super dangerous and he's injuring people and he's causing problems. There was also people joking that, I don't know if you caught what was going on, but in the last few weeks, the Hardys had booked a variety of independent dates, including with Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore promotion. And there was an issue where they wanted to fulfill their dates. The WWE said, yes, you could fulfill those dates, but we don't want you wrestling because we don't want you to get hurt since we've signed you to a, probably a good sized contract and we have an investment in you. And from a business perspective, I get that. They ended up having to wrestle though one night. And there was this kind of like joke of like, we don't want these guys getting in there and getting hurt. And then tonight they both get completely, like Matt got busted open at one point, and then Jeff loses a tooth. So they obviously were, they like I said earlier, they did a really good job tonight. They could still go. They're still very athletic at their age. It just, you just hate to see dudes get roughed up. But I don't know if the Sheamus thing, if that's something they need to, like we always talked about back in the day, how dangerous Ryback was in the ring. And he just looked like he was just one mistake away from dropping some dude on his head. And a lot of guys have complained about him, in the years since working with him. But, oh boy, I don't know if,
wow, where were all of these people last year when AJ Styles took a breakfast to the Miz's mouth and knocked out his tooth?
That's very true.
Where were they?
Probably nowhere.
You all can shut the hell up. Okay.
You don't think Sheamus is dangerous?
That's not the question. That's not the point. If their concern is that people are going to get hurt, it's happened before. What are you complaining about?
I think
stop it.
I don't know if it was this moment, this instance, but I've seen people say this stuff about Sheamus before. So I don't know if tonight.
I don't know of any other instances where Sheamus has injured a person.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Does anyone have that?
Well, I've heard people say he's like, I've heard the reputation of he's very stiff in the ring, but yeah, I've never like when does he actually physically put somebody out of action? Like, as if anything, we could say Seth Rollins would be a candidate. I mean, I don't think a lot of that was Seth's fault, but you could say he's a candidate, you know, and I don't see people tweeting about Seth, but I don't know.
Why are people tweeting about Samoa Joe, for crying out loud?
And that's a valid, you know, I've had a lot of people say that to me about Samoa Joe, about the incident with TJ Kidd and then the incident with Seth, and, you know, I don't know. So that I saw.
I'm not even going to say the word Kennedy. Come on.
Yeah, well, we know all we need to know about Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah.
So, were you surprised by the Alexa Bliss title win tonight? Although it was Bayley's hometown, so you know
No, not at all. Whenever you're at a wrestler's hometown, they are losing. Period. It happens all the time. Not shocked at all.
And they're moving pretty quick with these girls. With Charlotte over on SmackDown, which by the way has been a giant breath of fresh air for that division. But they're moving quick with her, with Naomi. They moved real quick with Alexa, with Bayley. So, although I think a lot of people, you know, I like the Bayley character. I do feel like, though, that some people had a good point that it kind of feels like it was, I don't know, losing a little steam there. And you can only cut the same promo about how you wanted to be a wrestler, you know, for your entire life for so long. But people are like, okay, I get it. You know, that's me with Sasha Banks. Like, Sasha Banks is the most confusing professional wrestling character on the planet today. She'll go from cutting a promo about how she's always wanted this and she'll be crying, and then she'll turn on one of her friends because she wants a title shot, or she'll say something super mean. It's just such a weird character presentation. I do not understand the Sasha Banks presentation. It's just 1 week it's one way, the other week it's another. It's incredibly confusing, but they're moving pretty quick with these girls, with the ones that have flip-flopped, Alexa to Raw and Charlotte over to SmackDown. So
yeah, thank goodness Charlotte's over on SmackDown.
Ooh, yeah, she needed
that was
to be
just
there.
It was dominated by Alexa, because I mean, God, if you what your problem is with Sasha, and you're just confused if you don't know if she's chivalrous or treacherous, God, we don't know what Becky is because she's just a blank slate. Dear God, all I know is that she wears goggles and has steam coming up out of the ground. I don't know what the hell she is.
Calls herself Becky
and
Balboa.
I know she's from Ireland, I guess. I don't know anything about her, okay? I'm glad Tamina's back, okay?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting to watch.
It's some goddamn top rope splashes on these girls. That'll be fun.
That's right. I need more manly girls is what I need.
I need some more. So does JBL, apparently, according to his screenshots.
Yeah.
Poor fella. Just wanted to look at some strong chicks and gets put on blast on the Twitter. He's a bully, Doug. He's a goddamn bully. I just wanted to say that. To see.
I love how that's been the talk.
We haven't talked about that.
We haven't talked about that.
Oof.
Okay.
Did that happen
2 weeks ago? It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because it was right after Mania. It was exactly right after WrestleMania when people were kind of like, well, where's Mauro? And then, but you know, the thing is, Mauro had so much going on in his life from a commentary standpoint. Like, the WWE was just like a little sliver of what he does. And like he just called the Klitschko fight this weekend, the big heavyweight fight that everyone's clamoring about. They said it's the best heavyweight. And I saw like a brief minute clip of it and it was amazing. But he's in the fucking guy called Mayweather and Pacquiao a couple years ago. It's like he's entrenched in that combat sports world that like, I feel like a lot of people had this like strong connection to him, and especially Dave Meltzer. So there was this.
I wonder why.
Well, there was this witch hunt, and now granted, I'm not saying JBL was innocent, because we can go back and we can look at the stories. You can go back specifically the Blue Meanie one where he was just a fucking asshole and punches the Blue Meanie live on pay-per-view. And there was a lot of other instances where he tried to get the Hardys to get drunk and put toothpicks and I get that. But this new version, like the modern version of what was going on, felt very created by Dave Meltzer in that Wrestling Observer Figure 4 Online world. And I remember I was listening to the stuff he said and the stuff he was writing, and he was just it was a witch hunt, and it was really weird. And it was just, it was strange to observe. And I know you weighed in a lot on Facebook, and so did I. And I mentioned something at one point that I just kind of felt like it was fake outrage a little bit, but
it was.
But I think like Mauro's going to be fine. Like he's he didn't really need. He always wanted to have a gig with the WWE, but it wasn't the end all be all for him. Like he had a career before this, so and they allowed him to continue that career while he was working for them. So
he didn't seek out this position; it was offered to him.
Exactly.
Okay, what I love the most about just the story breaking, just initially breaking. I first asked myself, okay, what is the intention of this? Is this supposed to bring sympathy to Mauro or anger to JBL? It can't be both. It's got to be either or. And the more just even the next 2 or 3 days, it turned into more being anger towards JBL. Why? Because you remember stuff that he did in the past. Okay. And we're talking back when he was a performer. Okay.
Yeah.
And how far back are we talking? Like at least 10 years?
More than 10 years, 20 years.
More than 10. Yeah. So what I basically gathered from this whole charade is what I'm calling it, frankly. Okay. Is first I want to talk on Mauro's side. God, you don't think he's the only one suffering with anxieties in this business? Holy crap. There got to be guys that are worse than he is. But can you blame him for getting out of the business? That's a tough travel schedule on top of the other, engagements that he is already contractually obligated to. So that's a lot of stuff to take on for someone who, let's be also honest, he probably misses his family. He tweets about him all the time,
Yeah.
So you can't blame him for, taking time off and then eventually realizing, maybe I'm not cut out to do this, so I'm just going to step aside.
Yeah, and I think he realized that. And I Goosey was saying in the chat that there were people going after Mauro, calling him a coward and a pussy. I don't support that either. By no means is me, and I'm not coming to the defense of JBL. I stepped back as a logical human being, and I said, look at how this is being covered in the media, and look at how this just came out of nowhere. Like it would be one thing if like John was back there, berating Mauro, and Mauro was just like, I can't take this anymore. And like, obviously something that JBL said triggered him, whether that was being made. You got to know though, that company fucking hates the internet. Now, granted, the communications department has been more open in recent years. I am a wonderful example of that, of somebody they would never talk to. And then in the last couple of years, they've just opened the front door. And I'll just leave it at that. So, but I've also seen people in the wrestling media that have been approached by the WWE get very corrupted by it, and it affects their judgment and how they report things and how they cover things. And Mauro had to know that screenshotting a poll from the Wrestling Observer newsletter was going to make people go like, pfft, because that's how they look at that stuff back there. Like, he had to know that. And this idea that was just unprovoked was a little silly on a lot of people's parts, and people that were saying, well, it's not a big, you got to know the base you're working with, and you got to know that that's going to trigger something. And unfortunately, Mauro has been very, very public about battling anxiety and bipolar, and he's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And so stuff like that is going to affect him differently than it would somebody without those problems. And by no means is that me attacking Mauro. I think Mauro's better off being out of this and focusing on what he was doing before, which was mixed martial arts commentary, boxing commentary. He was doing commentary for New Japan Pro Wrestling for Access TV. Do that stuff. This is just and if anything, the one thing no one's fucking talking about, and I didn't even hear Dave Meltzer say this once, is the fact that you could tell they were starting to tire of his presentation when they added Tom Phillips to the commentary booth. There was 4 fucking dudes on SmackDown doing commentary. I mean, if anything was a red flag, it was that. That was before any of the bullshit came up with JBL and him getting, people getting mad at him. So it's like, just look, like, just step back and logically look at this and quit letting fucking people tell you how you should think. And that's what drove me nuts was Dave Meltzer says something and everyone goes, okay, let's just fucking pile it on. Like, I'm not saying JBL's an innocent dude by any means, because you could see the rap sheet and he had to, he had to issue a statement apologizing for all that stuff that he did. And I think he knows he messed up and shouldn't have done that stuff, but that was also just a totally different era. I mean, you could criticize, think about all the shit we could criticize in the 80s, Doug, of all these guys doing, cocaine, getting on planes and pulling all-nighters and,
Wow, you think JBL was the only one bullying?
Yeah, it was just strange
Come
how
on,
it's like
really?
there was just like let's ignore all the other controversies with like anabolic steroids and cocaine use and the stuff with Pat Patterson and other guys like, you know, getting involved with like gay sex with other men, part of the ring crew, and all these weird controversies that came up, which by the way, I don't know if you saw, they're going to be making a movie about Vince McMahon, and apparently WWE Studios is involved. I was curious what was going to get greenlit with that script, but there's going to be some pretty heavy stuff because, you know, you might think, you know, like a lot of people don't remember this stuff about Vince, but when you go back into the, you know, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, there's some pretty fucked up shit, you know, with this company. So, but anyway, I digress. I'm just saying, yeah, man, this is the one real bad thing, Doug, about the internet is that if people want to start a witch hunt, they can do it. And oh boy, did they with JBL. It didn't work, but I think.
But I mean, it's not just that. Is that there's a difference between God, and I'm trying to organize my thoughts here because I got so many, but I'll just take two of the primary ones that are on my mind here. So you are a professional wrestling media site, for one. I can't stand just professional wrestling media or journalism. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But you are given the story that, you know what, Mauro has left the WWE, and you know, you're told, you know, because of anxieties, bipolar disorder that he has made public, he's just unable to continue to fulfill his role. That's the story you're given as a website. Now, you're thinking, yeah, I could run this, but how am I going to get more eyeballs? How am I going to get more people to pay attention to me? How can I make more money off of this? I know I'll tack this thing on because I remember it happening 20 years ago. You know, that's the number one thing. I don't like it how this story is just not a good enough news story. I now need to turn it into an actual story with storytelling and actors and all of that, because these are the same type of people who always follow up an episode of Raw by saying, this is what should have happened. Because apparently what you just read and what you saw just wasn't entertaining enough and newsworthy enough. Now you've got to add something to it to make it more entertaining for your own purposes and everyone else's eyeballs, okay? The second point that I'll just go ahead and make, everyone who also made this story identified with all of the characters in this story that was made up and fabricated, okay? Everyone could identify with Mauro being in a situation that is very awkward, and you are not one of those. When I mean those, I mean like a JBL and the performers, and you are being quote-unquote bullied, and you look exactly like Mauro. You're not big built and brawn and strong and everything. You wear funny glasses, you got weird hair, you got a weird voice, you got an extensive vocabulary, you're educated, and you're getting beat up by jocks. Yes, everyone who wrote this story and carried it on their website understood and identified with that narrative and wanted to drive it home and just beat that horse down every day because it made them feel good to tell this kind of story. It made them feel powerful to tell this story. They felt like they were championing something. They felt like they were forwarding a unknown imaginary cause that was only their own, that they have probably gone through all of their prepubescent life. Okay? So much that has happened involving this Mauro JBL witch hunt / quietly walk away from the industry that Mauro is trying to do is just so rife with everyone else's agendas.
Oh yeah.
And it just really just cast it away.
It was very agenda based. I was very surprised at how people just kind of went along with it. I'm like, wait a second. And I thought honestly, I asked myself, and I remember texting people in the industry. And I was like, am I the only person that thinks this is like fake outrage? And like, no, you're not. And so I was like, okay. So at first I thought I was like being an asshole. And then I was just sitting back, and I was very quiet about it. I didn't really want to say anything. And I wanted more to play out, and eventually more did play out, and we got a couple statements, and everybody's moving on now. But I feel like, here we go, man. This is one of those things where we get these stupid witch hunts, and they don't tend to go away, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens. Sorry, I didn't mean to get us on that topic. We haven't really had a chance to talk about it.
Well, we've been away for a month, and a lot of stuff has happened.
Lots of stuff.
I'd like to talk about nude pictures, but that's okay.
Yes, we also didn't talk about nude photos as well. A lot of those happened while we were
That's
gone.
okay. But
Yes.
that's okay. We'll just keep that to ourselves.
Exactly.
We'll just do that. Hey, did you know there was a tag team title match on this pay-per-view?
Yeah, which we kind of hit that a little bit. We talked about it.
Well, yeah, we did talk about that.
We didn't talk about Austin Aries and Neville, and we did not talk about Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins. So I don't know if you have any. I thought Austin Aries has really improved in terms of his selling, because I remember him being ridiculous to watch in Ring of Honor and TNA, but he's really kind of slowed it. Again, and I said on Twitter, this was a rare cruiserweight match that actually got a reaction from the crowd, so that's 1 point for them. I still have no idea why 205 Live is a show and that exists and continues to happen, but I do like Austin Aries, and I've enjoyed his work so far. So
I need more of Neville yelling at the crowd.
yeah, he made like a weird noise, like and it was like, oh, what are you doing?
I need more of that gibberish. Yeah, keep on doing that.
Keep on doing that, Neville. That's good stuff. And then
He
Samoa
sounds
Joe
like a
and
drunken villager. I love that. Yeah.
Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins had a match as well. I mean, not terrible. I liked the finish. I thought that was creative with Samoa Joe going for, I think he was going for a rear naked, submission and
A sleeper hold.
sleeper hold, rear naked, coquina clutch, whatever they want to call it these days.
Sleeper hold.
And then
That's what I'm calling that.
Seth got
You
the
guys
pinfall.
Yeah. And is it safe to say now that Seth Rollins is the new Shawn Michaels? How many times are we going to see him clutch his knee? Every match.
I was trying to say, I was like, oh boy, I wouldn't want to be the next Shawn Michaels. I guess.
Well, no,
maybe.
I mean, with Shawn Michaels in his back, how many times are we going to, his back and his neck? How many times are we going to see Seth Rollins clutch his knee now?
Oh yeah, well, that's the gimmick. His knee is hurt, Doug. How dare you? That's his gimmick.
That's right. That's now him now.
That's his thing.
He's now the human knee. Is what he is.
That's his gimmick. So I was looking at the poll that I did on at Wrestleview on the Twitter, and
Does Payback deserve payback?
48% thumbs up, 34% thumbs down, 18% said they didn't watch and they'd rather watch sports or goddamn HBO shows, Doug, and I'm not watching this stuff.
I'd rather watch speculation about a sport than the actual sport itself.
Exactly. But, it was an amazing show. Obviously, the House of Horrors thing is still haunting my brain because of how stupid it was, but I also tried to find the humor in it as well. I didn't take it seriously, but
I found it extremely hilarious. I'm probably going to watch it again.
It was all right.
I'll do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing to it. You'll just poke fun at it. Do that.
It wasn't meant to be taken seriously. Yeah, everybody needs to calm down. We have Backlash in how many weeks? It's May the 21st. So 1, 2, 3, 3 weeks. And I think there's an NXT TakeOver show. It's the Chicago weekend. So the 20th they're doing a TakeOver show, I believe, and then the 21st is the Paybacks. Backlash. Payback and Backlash. Those are I've been fucking with me for the last couple of weeks. I've been mixing them up, but so far we have Randy versus Jinder for the WWE Championship, and then the winner of the match tonight. I believe it's going to be Jericho. Well, he's not going to be wrestling at Backlash, but that's the implication they're trying to give. Was that AJ Styles would face Chris Jericho, and they've yet to update that. Also, Breezango, strangely, is facing the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles.
God, yes.
So we'll see. I don't know what that's all about, but we'll see how that goes. They're also promoting that Shinsuke Nakamura is going to have his first official WWE pay-per-view match at Backlash as well. So
that will probably be against Dolph.
Most likely, most likely.
Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
And then you've also got Charlotte versus Naomi for the title.
I would assume, yes, I would assume so.
Think.
Well, they haven't officially announced that yet.
Yeah, I believe so.
Goosey said we should have a thumbs in the middle button for these polls that we do because he didn't hate the show, but he didn't love the show either. So he couldn't find a happy medium. What do you say to that, Doug?
Whose fault is that?
I just wanted to put you on the spot.
Whose fault? Yeah, whose fault is that? You indecisive asshole. Pick one.
Son of a bitch.
Yes
Goosey.
or no?
All right, so I guess barring anything really amazing happening in wrestling, we'll be back to talk about Backlash in 3 weeks. Does that sound good? Sound like a plan?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
We'll be back for that, and also there's people bringing up Audio Revolver brought up the amazing title of one of the next Raw pay-per-views in July called.
Oh yes, can we talk about that real quick before we go?
Great Balls of Fire. Yeah.
Great Balls of Fire.
I thought that was a joke. I thought it was like, how sometimes they'll give like a tagline to a show coming locally somewhere. They're like, WWE presents Road to WrestleMania or something like that. So I thought it was like WWE presents Great Balls of Fire and Big D in Dallas, but it's like, no, that's the name. That's the name of the pay-per-view.
I just had to look at the logo that they put together for this.
Yeah.
I mean, just straight out of, 1988, 1989. And, we could go ahead and, God, we had a fabulous thread going on Facebook of what the next WWE pay-per-views would be that are based on song titles.
Like someone did Little Richard's The Wop Babaloo Mom Bamboo or something.
Renee did that
yeah.
one. I think the biggest ones that came up was I did WWE 911 as a joke.
That's a good song.
I did Walking on Sunshine. Tub Thumpin'.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think someone did WWE My Heart Will Go On.
Did you see the meme I found of Triple H standing next to Vince, and it's Vince going like, yeah, we're really in touch with pop culture, and we're going to call our next show Great Balls of Fire. And then you just see Triple H just kind of going like, oh my God, in the corner. I bet, I obviously have no proof of this, but in my world, Vince was sitting at a big table with all the creative writers or whatever people they have there. And he just got very excited. He's like, God damn it, Great Balls of Fire. And he just probably said it with the Vince, the way Vince cuts promos. And he probably thought it was fucking awesome. And this was going to be a great show. Great Balls of Fire, dog. Brock Lesnar's first Universal Championship defense in Dallas. Great Balls of Fire. And he was just probably loved it. So
I'll put it one further. I'll take that setting. And he brings everyone in. And he goes, all right, everybody, the pay-per-view's in Dallas. It's in July. It's in the heat of summer. It's effing hot.
Yeah, a lot of swamp ass in Dallas.
It's called Great Balls of Fire. You have 5 minutes to give me a better title. Go.
They probably couldn't do any better than that.
Silence. Complete silence. Okay. That's what they have. Okay. They could not come up with anything better. They have plenty of time to come up with something. But this is what they chose, and they're going to have to live with this.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's like a throwaway Raw summer pay-per-view, but Mike Tedesco texted me. He goes, did you fake that screen? Because I took a screenshot of the ad that the American Airlines Center in Dallas put out. He goes, is that fake? Yeah. Did you fake that? I was like, no, I didn't fake it. He goes, no, like really. I sent him the link and he just wrote back, Jesus Christ. And he could not believe that was an actual title for a pay-per-view, but yeah, Great Balls of Fire and the Big D, everybody. So that's going to be something in July. It's going to be Brock is not defending that Universal Championship according to that ad until July, which means from what was WrestleMania? April. Was it April 4th? 2nd? April 5th? It was 2nd.
Something like that. Yeah.
So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 weeks that he will not defend that title. I don't know if he's going to be showing up on television, granted, but the belt marks are
3.5 months. 3.5 months.
Belt marks are not going to like that too much. So that's also something we can have some popcorn and enjoy when that goes down.
Well, I mean, the last time that this was pulled off, the storyline on Raw was that Seth Rollins was that bar of soap that no one could catch and beat the shit out of.
Yes.
Because he was with the Authority and had the Money in the Bank briefcase and blah, 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 blah. The story right now, I think, is fantabulous. It is, let's beat the crap out of Roman Reigns.
Sure. I'm down with that.
It's the complete opposite. Let's just have Braun beat the crap out of Roman and anyone else that has 2 legs.
Let's build up Braun to face Brock. Braun and Brock in July. That sounds good to me.
I'd say you build up Braun to face Balor.
That too. But I'm sure Finn's going to want.
Balor says he wants to get his title back, and
he sure does with his cool jacket.
That he doesn't. Does he know what a hell a collar is?
Yeah, he likes to pop it. He's awesome. That's what you do. That's what you do, Doug. It's what the cool kids do. They pop it. They don't just have that collar.
Note to Mr. Cameraman, when you're panning across the apron and Finn is standing on there, I don't need to see his fucking crotch right in my face.
It's a little homoerotic, isn't it? Just a touch.
Dear God, I mean, I've known that anything involving this cat was homoerotic, but dear Lord, do we have to crank it up to volume 15?
It's gonna shove it in your face, literally, Doug. Just bam.
The guy walks and stands on his tippy toes.
Yeah.
He's an interpretive dancer, for crying out loud.
He's got his own club too. So you can join the club too if you want to. Doug's
That's
face.
okay. I'll save my cover charge for that one. I'm sure they serve plenty of Appletinis at this club. Go right ahead.
You just said, I'll just watch the Indians. I'm fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
there you go.
Everything's fine. I'll survive. I'll survive.
We'll all survive.
You guys enjoy your 10-minute long entrances.
Exactly. All right. Well, barring anything crazy happening, or if we decide to book a guest or something, I might be actually talking to some people from. So, do you remember the Glow promotion, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling?
Do I ever?
Well, there's a Netflix show based on that is coming out in June, and Netflix was nice enough. I am totally pulling my dick out and just stroking it as I'm describing this. So I apologize, the verbal diarrhea that's about to spew out of me right now.
I'm jealous of what you're getting, but I'm not jealous of what you're doing.
Go ahead. Well, I realized it was a humble brag that I was about to say, but it was nice of them. Netflix contacted me and said, "Hey, here's some screeners. We'll let you watch the whole season, and then we want you to tell us what you think of the show, and we'll actually have you talk to some of the actors on the show." So I don't know who that's going to be. I know Awesome Kong is one of the people on the show who we're friendly with. Audio Revolver says, and the interview's canceled. But I've yet to watch it yet because I actually can't give reviews until like a week or two before it premieres on Netflix. So I'm going to start slowly going through it. But I'm probably going to be talking to somebody from the show. I don't know who that's it. I'd like to talk to Awesome Kong about it because hasn't really been doing a whole lot in wrestling. So she'd be fun to talk to. But Allison Brie is in it. Mark Maron's in it. So I'll at least kind of tell you what I think of it. I probably can't say too much because they'll get pissed off because they gave me a screener. But we'll see how it goes. Would you like a
primer on what Glow was?
Yes. Well, I knew what Glow was, but I wasn't an avid watcher of it. So yeah, I think I need kind of.
Have you ever watched an episode of it?
I've just seen clips. I've never watched a full episode from start to finish.
Oh my God, you are in for such a treat.
All right.
Oh my gosh, you had no idea. You thought the House of Horrors was campy? You don't know shit.
Well, I know it was it was Los Angeles heavy scripted ridiculous female wrestling presentation, so I'm
God, yes.
I'm ready for this. I'm pumped, so we'll see how it goes.
The reason I liked Papa Shango so much back then was that he was a voodoo guy, but no one was ever entranced in a voodoo spell. Okay, they just had black goo coming out of them.
Yeah.
In Glow, they had a voodoo performer and would actually entrance their opponents to have them attack other people.
Yeah, so this takes the.
That's one of the vivid things that I remember.
About
Glow.
So blurring the lines, you're like it's here, and then Glow just completely ramps right over the top of that.
Good Lord, yes. They just ramp right over the top. I mean, WWE, they're just going up the hill and they'll just slightly come back down. Oh, no. Glow, they just go.
They go full bore. All right, well, then this could be fun.
Way out
I don't know what to expect from the show. I've seen like images of what they were doing, and there was people that were consulting from wrestling. I think like Chavo Guerrero was a consultant and a couple people like that, but
the only consulting they did was, that is how you wear that.
That's what you got to do.
That is it.
I've seen a lot of big ladies in the images, so there's a lot of big sweaty ladies. So this will be a lot of big sweaty lady fun. If you like them BBWs, like Conan said in the chat room, you're gonna probably be into this. So
there's a lot of big ladies and a lot of strippers,
and they're sassy.
These words, they're sassy.
Sassy big ladies. All right, well then I'm in for a treat then. So I'll start piling through that, and then we'll talk about it in a future podcast. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us. A lot of people joining us live tonight, so we appreciate that. We are on the YouTubes. Definitely subscribe to us on YouTube. It helps us. It's youtube.com/WrestleView Radio, or just look up WrestleView Live or WrestleView Radio. Find the channel. And then if you want to just listen to the audio version of this, you don't want to stare at our stupid faces, look up WrestleView Media on SoundCloud or iTunes, and you can subscribe to the feed. We also provide, Doug, an MP3 download associated with the SoundCloud feed because our buddy Bronx was bitching on our Facebook group that he can't stand it when people use SoundCloud, but they don't provide an MP3 download link. We've been doing that since day one, but if you prefer to just directly download it and put it on your phone or Do people really use iPods anymore? Because I use my phone for everything now, for music, podcasts, everything. I don't know, but maybe some people still have iPods or MP3 players. I'm dating myself.
Everyone point and laugh at Bronx right now.
Yes, because he's he gets very sensitive about these. Well, he's very detailed when it comes to podcast stuff, so he wants his shit in order. So he'll comment on this tomorrow when he hears that we talked about him at the very end. But it's not a direct
Bronx, look
shot.
at your carpet. I don't think all the grains are going the right direction.
It was not a shot, Goosey. Goosey's in there talking shit. He's just like, I'm starting shit. But yeah, we do have an RSS feed, but we also provide the MP3 download with the SoundCloud feed. So a bunch of different ways you can listen to this fine podcast program, because Lord knows, Doug, there's not enough podcasts about professional wrestling these days. There's just not enough. We're just us and 2 other people, and that's it.
Pretty much. That's all we. Yeah,
we're like
just
to think,
the competition of how many others, I don't know.
Yes.
That's the only reason I wore this shirt, was to try to separate us from everyone else.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe because we just sound like we're radio people and we have our shit together.
I prefer to just this is a nice casual conversation, but we'll see. I don't know. There's a lot of YouTubers. I was exposed to the world of wrestling YouTubers when they had some kind of like a paid ticket panel over WrestleMania weekend. I was like, who the fuck are these? Like, I knew who Matthew was from Botchamania, but all these other dudes, I'm like, who are these people? Like, people are buying tickets to listen to them. Like, I would even like pay somebody to listen to me talk on a panel. Like, like Jesus. It's so silly, but
I would pay people to come see me.
Yeah, Doug's like, now I would love it.
I would love it, but the thing is, I wouldn't mind if people came to see me watch and talk in front of a microphone. But the problem is, I'm not going to tell them to pay to come in.
Well, that too, and we've talked many times. About wanting to get people together for a hangout, get some beers, and just record a podcast and talk to people. If like during like a WrestleMania weekend or something, I don't know if we can make that happen, but I would love to do that. I'd love to go wherever, next year's in New Orleans. I don't know where the next one is, but it would be fun to group that out. So exactly. Audio Revolve.
Paid admittance is BYOB. How about that?
BYOB would be totally fine with me. Audio Revolver in the chat said, why don't you guys do an after show of Wrestleview Live like Chris Hardwick does with the Well, we are doing that right now. This was after.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome.
Hi, I'm Adam. He's Doug. What do you think we're doing right now?
Hi, I'm Doug. Yeah. Maybe if we called it something else, then you would think that it is actually.
Is it
like
confused? I figure calling it Wrestleview Live, but maybe that was confusing. Maybe he means I did have people say, why don't you do this after Raw? Why don't you do it after SmackDown? It's like, well, a lot of people.
But that's
do that.
what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. So. Sorry.
We tried that before and we got burnt out.
Very burnt out. I much like these. Do a show. Less is more, as we've said in recent years.
Yeah.
Less is more, especially with how many fucking wrestling podcasts exist right now. It's ridiculous. Okay, Doug, we're gonna get out. We're gonna get a job. They do, absolutely. Yes. I'm keeping you late. I'm sorry. I just looked at the time, Eastern Standard Time, so sorry about that. So. We will get out of here, but if we don't talk to you between now and then, we'll talk to you for the Backlash. So there you go. And yes, Brian Farmer used to host Back Talk for us back in the day. What other? He did. What were you going to say? Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, no. It's just I'm just trying to think of whatever other pay-per-view it is that has that same kind of connotation, like Payback, Backlash, Retribution, Revenge, Comeuppance.
Great balls of fire.
You're gonna get yours.
Exactly.
Great balls of fire.
Conan said, or Conan, however he wants me to pronounce that. He says, bring back the TNA recaps. There is actually a TNA pay-per-view on July the 2nd, Slammiversary. We could drink some beers and talk about it. What do you think about that?
Some beers?
Some beers. A lot of beers.
It would be all the beer.
We could do that. I'd be okay.
God.
I'd be okay because I mean it's a kind of a different promotion ish a little bit. I don't know if you want to call it that, but we'll discuss. We'll poll the audience if they want us to do a show after Slammiversary.
You want us to look, if you're wanting us to do that, now you're really going to have to pay us.
Exactly. Okay. I like that quickly. Audio Revolver said, "No thanks. Fuck that L." Just very nope. No thank you. I will not be listening to that. That was I literally, as I said, hey, we'll just see what people, then nope. It was just a very emphatic no.
Bronx immediately goes, I would not like an MP3 format.
No, he'll probably pass on an MP3. But they said if we brought Hunter back, maybe he'd want to.
No,
Hunter doesn't even like to watch the WWE right now. Why would he want to watch Slammiversary? He doesn't even
watch wrestling. Why the hell do you care?
Okay, I barely get him to respond to my text messages. He's such a big shot these days. So
the only time I get him to respond is when I make fun of his kids on his Facebook page.
That works too. That also works.
No, I don't do that. I don't.
How dare you? Okay, everybody. We will be back for Backlash in a few weeks. Subscribe to us on the YouTubes and look up Wrestleview Media on SoundCloud and iTunes. He is Doug Lackey. You can follow him on the Twitter at Doug Wrestleview. I am Adam Martin. I am at Adam Wrestleview on the Twitter. So we will talk to everybody later. Bye. Say bye, Doug. That too. All right, bye.